3, 2, 1.
今夜もミュージック君へのラッキー笑い合って抱き合って幸せにほらなれるように
Fwa time.
God, why do you always try every time you start an episode? You're just like, what's the cringiest way I can start this episode? It's like you want people to click on and then instantly click off. I actually can't stand you. Say it one more time.
Fwa time.
Shut up.
Hey
That
guys,
was fucking...
welcome back to the Fwa time Hokago Tea Time podcast. It is me, Craftsdwarf.
Me, what with my shitty taste and
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I just hit 3,000 or 3,000.
3,000
subscribers. Cancel me. I deserve it.
You know what? I'm gonna sue you because you're jealous that I'm a better YouTuber than you.
For harassment and defamation.
No, because I'm a better YouTuber than you, and you're scared of that.
Oh well, shit.
All right.
Guess
What
you're
the
right.
what?
When can both y'all defend Lolicon on Twitter so you can get fucking doxxed?
I've done it in videos and I'm fine.
Oh my
God. Fuck you.
Anyway,
Who are you?
so we're talking to.
Introduce
Who am
yourself.
I'm
So-
Vindy, and I don't want to be here.
All right. So
Yeah,
wait,
that's
did we
rude.
decide what we're talking about next time?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if Vindy remembers because it's his pick.
Yeah, well, I know what Craftsdwarf is going to say, but I thought about changing it earlier today,
Oh, okay.
motherfucker.
Okay.
But I
You
didn't.
didn't tell me, so.
Yeah, I know. I don't have to till we record. No, we're watching Overlord Season 1 because we want to watch... I want to watch Isekai Quartet. And
Yeah,
the
and
only
well-
things that we haven't watched either,
Well,
like...
we watched. Okay, there's 6 things we need to like for the first of the quartet were ReZero, Konosuba, Overlord, and Yojo Senki or Saga Tongue of the Evil.
And we've already
Then
talked about watching Yojo Senki.
Right.
On
And
this.
we already watched ReZero.
We all
that's
like
one down.
Konosuba.
Well, we've also. Well, I wouldn't mind rewatching it because I haven't seen the movie and I want to rewatch it anyway.
Okay.
So and then yeah, Yojo Senki I've seen, but I don't think you guys have. And Overlord, I don't think I haven't. I saw
I
the
haven't
first
seen
episode.
Overlord at all. I don't know anything about it.
I saw the first episode when it first started.
I watched all of season 1, so it'll be a rewatch for me.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's also Shield Hero, and apparently they're adding Cautious Hero. Cautious Hero we've already watched. and Shield
Unfortunately.
Hero, maybe we could. Well, we
I
could also
haven't
read the manga
seen
for that one, but
Shield Hero,
I mean
so-
they'd be using the anime voice. Like it is an anime. The Isekai Quartet's an anime, so they'd be using like the anime, like like even if they are based on other things. So that's just basically those are what we are planning to like, except for again ReZero and Cautious Hero, which we've already seen, and in Weeb Club related stuff.
And
But,
talked about already, so there's enough thoughts of our character. And then, yeah, we can watch Isekai Quartet, which is just a funny show, but then we can talk about, oh, it's fun to see these characters that we know and like.
Yeah, it'll
interact.
probably honestly like it. Well, they're shorts, so I think right.
We could, yeah, and if by the time we get to it, season 3's out, we can watch all 3 seasons for
Exactly,
one.
it'll just be a one. Yeah, exactly.
jack my dick and cock right off.
That's basically that's like a goal. Like I don't want to just have Vindy pick this things because again, like Konosuba is something I was thinking about rewatching anyway. So if I just pick it as a long pick for the Weeb Club, sure, So yeah, just generally speaking, that's something we'll. Well, I mean that we also have like maybe we'll do more. Or I did lists on our private document because we also talked about doing Urasawa manga and. More Dogakobo shows because apparently that was like one like the second thing we did,
Can't wait
and
to watch
a bunch of our
tomorrow.
seasonals. Yeah,
We stand
So, like, why
Dogakobo
not?
is what should gather from this, guys.
Yeah, that's the biggest list actually.
Need
Is Dogakobo cute girl
gobblers
shows.
gone.
Okay, Kodawa Eden.
So yeah, the Keion manga. This was a patron pick. This our 4th one, I believe.
I have no problem saying, by the way, I think this is the most interesting patron pick, and I ended up, I don't know. Well, I mean,
It was
we'll
the
get into it,
fastest
but-
patron pick.
I mean, I think it was like obviously I still like like Cross Ange more than this, and that was a patron pick. But I think in terms of patron picks being like, I think giving me a lot to like think about and want to talk about, I think this was the best one.
Yeah,
Because Cross Ange, I'm only.
it was also like only 6 fucking volumes if we count for high school and college. Because we also did
Yeah.
read Keion High School and Keion College.
Right. So that was the new material where just the 4 volumes were basically adapted into 2 seasons of the anime. and which we've all seen the anime before this,
Yeah.
right?
And
'Cause
we all very much like it.
It's
Yes.
in my top 5, or I think it's in my top 5 anime of all time.
It's in my top 3. Get one up, pussy bitch.
Well, I'm sorry that Love Live
So
exists.
what that means is that both
I
What and
have
I
to
would give
rewatch
it a 10.
it, but it was on my old, and it was on my anime 3x3, so I'd give it like
Okay.
a high 9, maybe 10. So it's like we all really like it, and I need to rewatch it before I like decide. But still, it's like we all really like Keion, and this was, so you think like, oh yeah, 6 volumes, 120 pages each volume. How was it still like a really long read?
It felt like
it really
I think it's
wasn't.
because
I fell
was
asleep
really wordy.
twice.
I didn't fall asleep, but it took me, because I can normally get through a volume of manga in 20 to 30 minutes, and that's like a 200 volume manga, right? And especially if it's an action manga, it's a little bit quicker. Like when I was reading Naruto earlier this week, I was doing like a volume every 15 minutes, right? I'd get through a volume, and this was taking me like 30 minutes per volume plus for 129 page volumes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The only reason it
was.
it took me a little longer than usual to read this was because I was fucking also like, I was rewatching Toradora, and I would like stop and like alternate between the two. So I don't like, it didn't really take me that long to read it. I might have only slowed down because I wanted to like think in my head the differences between the anime and the manga. So like
it felt really wordy, and like I think part of it is that like there were 8 panels per page every page, because it's structured like a 4-coma, and so you have 2 4-panel strips on every page. So you're looking at 8 panels a page, 16 panels every 2 pages, and a lot of the panels are super fucking wordy. So like if I was like barely paying attention to the words, but like when I'm trying to like when you're reading it, I feel like I was doing way more word reading than looking at like the pictures. You know what I mean? Like the pictures were generally like, oh, haha, funny girl, make cute face, and then everything was just done through like words. So it just ended up being like really wordy, which made it a really long read. Because wordy manga just take longer to read than something like Ippo or something where you'll get like matches that take a long time, and you can just like kind of blaze through it.
I mean, I guess, but like, I guess just for me personally, I didn't think it was really that wordy so much as it's like, okay, I will compare this to the Keion anime once, because like the Keion anime does not feel like a 4-coma manga, which is something that like a 4-coma manga adaptation. Because if you compare Keion, especially to something like Yuri Yuri or fucking what's like, because. Or actually, no, not Love Lab, because Love Lab didn't feel like, it didn't really have the same sort of 4-coma structure, because, like, most 4-coma anime adaptations have, like, this very much, you could see, like, how they're taking pieces from that 4-coma joke, where it's, like, it's the same structure every single time for each joke, and it goes, and, like, it looks like a bunch of 4-comas, like, taped together. Keion's anime adaptation never really felt like that. It was a very smooth watching experience.
I mentioned this beforehand, but I would honestly say the Keion anime is the single best adaptation of anything I've ever seen.
It's absolutely fucking
because
goated.
I can't think of anything that takes the source material and just like elevates it to such a point where it's like, because like, so here's my issue with the Keion manga is, and maybe if I'd read it beforehand before I watched the anime, I might have liked it, but like I just couldn't separate it from the anime, and
Right.
like I just couldn't invest myself in it on it, because like it is also very different. Like there's jokes that are cut. The manga is just, it's a little like raunchier. There's like there's one.
Yeah, there was like
for
super
example,
horny.
And well, yeah. This is an example, and this isn't a spoiler because this is early on in season 1. But so in season 1, right, the very first school festival, there's a scene where Mio trips and everyone in the school sees her panties. And in the anime, they just show like a rice bowl.
They do. Right, well, a striped rice bowl that's striped like her underwear, like in a common underwear style that you would recognize and go, you would get what the visual represent. It's supposed to be also by the shape of the bowl, like you get what it's a visual gag that's showing it without showing it, but the manga just shows it, and you see her ass. And then later they show that videotape to Azusa, and she gets a nosebleed, and the manga's just really horny.
It's
It's
really
also
horny.
really gay. Like
Oh, Mugi will like fantasize like
Mugi's
Yuri
like
stuff.
10 times like in the anime, it's kind of a like this running joke that like, oh, Mugi's like a little gay. Like, she thinks about it, but it's not really. No, she's just straight up gay as fuck in the manga. Like, she's
right,
constantly
and they explain
trying
it
to
like,
everyone.
look, she was reading shoujo manga but not interacting with human beings, so she just like, oh, this is how it works, like, because she's a sheltered rich girl, and like that was part of the joke.
Well,
and that, I guess that ended up being kind of my issue with the manga, because like the tone of it feels different. Like, the characters, they don't have the arcs that they do in anime, so like yeah, it is Yui, it is Ritsu, it is Mio, it is Mugi, it is Azusa, but they're not like they're not the same characters that I came to love through the anime. So it's like, well, I don't really care about these characters.
I got glimpses of it. I definitely felt like they were the same. They just were not as fleshed out. But I still felt like Yui was Yui, Ritsu was Ritsu. Like, I got, like, it
so
as I was reading the manga, the scene in the anime would play out in my head, right? A lot of times, like, I would see the what I'd seen before, because the anime is so good and so memorable that as, like, I get the reminder, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that happening. And then you see, like, you know, the super well done visual.
So here's something I was thinking the entire time while reading the manga, right? Is that, like, I mentioned before that the reason why Koi no Katachi's manga and anime feel so different is that Naoko Yamada as a director is very, like, soft, right? She's not very... A lot of her directing style and a lot of what she does is very much more on the emotional, softer side of things. Like, she doesn't do a lot of, like... Because there's a lot of, like, straight up, like, 4 gags that you'd see in, like, Yuru Yuri in the Keion manga. Characters are hitting each other, getting straight up horny. A lot of the characters are just dead ass, just really, like, mean, but, like, endearing mean, right? That kind of humor. Whereas Naoko Yamada, when she took the material, she made everyone a little nicer, right? And made the situations a lot more, like, fluffy.
It almost, I guess, is like a more subdued version, right? Like, the horny's more subdued. The
so I wouldn't like the Keion anime isn't really horny, and that was one thing I noticed reading the manga, is that like a lot of the parts I think are kind of weird and thought were iffy in the anime are just holdovers from the manga. Like, I never really liked, like, when Mugi, like, strong arms the shop guy to, like, lower the price because she owns it, like, and after
well, and the anime does it funny because in the anime it's played off as Mugi doesn't realize what she's doing, right?
Right.
She wants to haggle because she's heard of it and thinks it'd be fun. And she doesn't have, like, a conscious, like, understanding of, oh,
yeah, and this was and it was, that's the thing, it was lowering the price because after Yui'd worked hard, like, they'd worked to try and get the money, and they didn't quite get enough. Where in the manga that doesn't happen, and instead Mugi just, like, strong arms the guy to do it.
Yeah, Mugi's like, I got this, guys.
Well, here's
and so, like, it's even more like, or what were you gonna say?
Here's the main thing. The difference is that Naoko Yamada and the staff behind KyoAni intentionally added a lot of things to the manga. Like, there's just a lot of material that they put in here to bridge the gaps. Like, the entire intro to the anime is not present in the manga at all. A lot of the gags feel like quick cut,
which takes a lot out of what the manga does try to do, and then does I would say really well in the college arc of, like, Yui kind of finding a place and finding like finding people that kind of drive her forward. Because even in the stuff that the anime adapts, so I think what I know what your theory is. I still think is, like, it's there in the manga because, like, there's even a line where Nautico says that to the Light Music Club. Like, I'm not calling them the Pop Music Club, by the way. They're the Light Music Club.
Yeah, no, yeah.
She says to the Light Music Club, she's like, yeah, like, Yui's a lot better about a lot of that stuff than she used to be. And that's what season 1 of the anime you could look at and say, like, is kind of one of the main takeaways from it with what the first and last scenes are. You know?
Right. Or, yeah, the first episode and last episode, there's, like, a very deliberate, like, visual callback of Yui in her house, and, yeah, if you've seen it,
trying to get there, yeah.
Right,
and that's there, it's just not as obvious because there isn't enough, like, they go through all 3 years of high school in 4 volumes, right? Like, you get whiplash reading through, you know?
Yeah. Well, and one thing I was going to mention is, like, so it is kind of interesting as to how, like, specifically the important the Keion anime is, because, like, yeah, the manga is like they're a bit more uncute in a sense, and I think we were talking about this back on the BSA What's That Weeb Club with Majipoka, where the characters, it's a cute girl show, but, like, the characters show interest in men. They're vulgar at times, like they're doing things that modern cute girl shows wouldn't have the girls do, and the shifting point is probably Keion, where it's not they're just pure and soft. The softness of it sort of influenced a lot of the, because it was a fucking huge deal. And what really like struck me about that was reading the first chapter, and Yui goes to the light music club, and she in her mind she imagines the main character of Detroit Metal City as like, oh, like that's the like metal and hardcore, and which I thought was funny because obviously like it's not actually that, like it's cute girls and cake. But then in Chunibyo Season 2, the main character's best friend guy goes to join the light music club thinking it'll be cute girls and cake, but actually it's metal.
Right.
And I stopped for a second. I was like, my brain was hurting because like that's such a perfect encapsulation of like how big a deal Keion was, where in Keion, the joke is that light music is like metal, but then like because of Keion, now light music is just Keion. And I was like, oh, it's amazing.
It's supposed to be a
things
joke
have changed
in
a
Keion.
lot
It's supposed to be
in
a
the
joke
last
in
decade.
Keion that like Yui thinks that the light music club she can just go with playing castanets because she's a retard and doesn't know what that means. You know,
Right.
I would say that the biggest difference is that the anime is very visual. And visual and audio, because that's Naoko Yamada's strength. So when she started adding things, there's a lot of characterization and things and like little moments where it's all just visual and like the sound. Like the music is a big part of what makes like the anime so good, which is I would say the thing with any music manga to an anime. But like,
and that's one of the things I want to say why the adaptation's so good, because like Mio making the songs with the dumb names and the dumb lyrics is literally just a joke about look how dumb, but then the anime does like so much with it, and then like to the point of like you talked about it in your anime lyrics video about how like the Gohan the
Rice
song
is a
about
side
rice gets like Rice gets recontextualized in the movie, and it's like how is Keion how is Naoko Yamada how are they so amazing?
So this isn't spoilers, but like basically the second season of the Keion anime ended in 2010. And I think so and then if you notice Keion High School and Keion College both started publication in 2011. And I would argue that what started happening was that like the author for the mangaka for the original manga like had an idea of what they wanted to say, of how they wanted to like do this, take the story and things like that. But like it was after like the Keion anime kind of like tweaked a lot, like really like adjusted the shit out of a lot. That like that's why when you read Keion High School and Keion College, you start to see the characters that we know and love from the anime like more and like more present, and the humor is a lot more like the anime's is. Like it's a.
I don't know if I agree. I actually don't agree with that at all.
Because
if I'm being honest.
Because I guess like when I was reading it, right, I was reading a lot. I was reading it, and when I was comparing it, I was like, I almost felt like Naoko Yamada understood what the core of this manga was, right? Like what the core of the story was, and was like adjusting it around its strengths there, because there's a lot in this,
or at least what she saw
what she saw it to be. And that I think that because ultimately kind of like grew to be that's what ultimately came out of this whole thing, as what I was thinking when I was reading it the entire time, because there's a lot that's like, especially when we get to the discussion of Keion College and Keion High School, there's like, they both do things that I think if they were adapted, like Vindy agrees too, that if they were adapted to the anime, it'd be fucking goated. It'd be fucking absolutely insane. But like I really liked Keion High School and Keion College. Like this discussion is not good. I'm gonna barely talk about the manga, like the Keion manga itself at all, because really it just amounts to like the jokes are like way harsher, and like because there's not a lot of visual storytelling and it's all just like a lot of wordy. That's why like when you see the dialogue in Keion's anime, it's like it's very like it's all just talking. That's how it is in the fucking manga. Like that they're just taking those pieces of dialogue and then just adding it and then bridging the gaps.
Like it's wordy.
I'm using your guys' words, right? Fucking whatever. And but point is, right?
I'm just fucking with you.
Point is, right? Like
said it was.
Point is that like when you're reading the Keion manga, you're gonna realize just how powerful of a medium, like how what people actually want in a fucking anime adaptation is just like taking the strengths of everything that makes the source material good, and then maximizing it on that in ways that the medium that it's adapted from couldn't necessarily do.
Right.
And like I think that's the main issue, is that like Keion's, I think that really the issue is that like the manga's, it's not like the manga's bad, it's just that the anime is that good that it flowers for Algernon's or taste buds when you go back to read it, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to say is why I think I don't agree with you about because again I actually didn't notice that much of a change in terms of like humor style and like characters in Keion High School and Keion College, and I don't think that's what it was. I think what it ultimately came down to was when you're reading Keion original, all you can think about is the anime, because every scene that the manga has is adapted in the anime. So every time you're reading, you're seeing the scene from the anime playing out in your head. It's not as good. You're remembering why this manga isn't as good because you're remembering the better version. I think when you get to college and high school, you don't have that. The anime cannot taint what you haven't seen before. So you're looking at it as like a continuation of sorts. And then also the fact that it is just better written, I think is going to taint that. But I don't think it's some I don't think that the anime influenced the high school and college that much. I think it was more so that they probably got better as a writer. And then when you don't have the anime completely influencing every single thought, because I know that happened for me, that like I couldn't, like Craft said, I couldn't separate the first 4 volumes from the anime. I literally couldn't.
Yeah,
so,
I'm actually, well, because before we go in and talk about high school and college in the spoiler section, how would you guys recommend, say someone who has not watched the anime or read the manga,
watch it?
Well, yeah, but like I'm thinking about the order. Like,
I would just say watch
like,
the fucking...
Watch it, then read it.
Yeah.
Watch it, then read it all.
I wouldn't even say, like, would you even say read the first 4 volumes? Because because I think like by the time I got to high school and college, I didn't give a shit.
It's such a fucking different experience when reading the first 4 volumes.
It gives you more of an appreciation of the anime.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say oh, sorry.
I want to watch the shit out of the anime after reading this manga, right? Because like that's what it made me want to do. I was like, the entire time I was reading, I was like, man, I really want to rewatch Keion now, because there's one specific moment that there's 2 moments actually in the original Keion in the Keion anime that the manga just does not have, that like break me every single time I think about it. And I started crying during that scene and during that part in the manga because I was thinking about the anime, right? And I was, but like, it's after their like last school festival.
Well, you can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about that when we get to spoilers.
Yeah.
I got some other things I want to say just in general that are like more general things. One of them was, I think I figured out why it was so much harder for me to read, and it's because this manga has 0 fucking flow to it. There is no panel flow or anything.
Yeah, that's fairly normal for a 4 coma.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but that's what I'm saying is I think that's why like that, because I'm also really slow at reading 4 comas.
Have you read any 4 comas before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I'm generally slower to read them because there's no flow. And it's worse when it's
no,
like
actually,
this.
yeah, that's absolutely, well, because like to sort of like give evidence to what you're because there's a Twitter thread I posted around by a actual like school like college professor who talks about like manga especially, and she had an interesting thread that one thing she basically talks about sort of the T rule and why manga panels like how manga pages use this to flow, and why specifically why they don't have cross panels, where they're like there's 4 equal sized panels like with a cross in between them basically. Right. And because in Japanese you read both right to left and up to down. So in other words, if you're a Japanese reader, you don't know which direction to go because either way is acceptable. And you'll notice like if someone gets confused about like a page, that's because they're not considering the up to down method, where if you read a comic book, it only goes left to right. There is no it goes up to down secondary, but it's not like equal, where it, like if you look at the text in a bubble, it's usually up to down. And so with a 4 coma, it's able to have it's technically cross panels, but that's because it has a very rigid structure in that, like, you're supposed to read the one on the right up to down, then you read the one on the left up to down. But because of that, because it doesn't have the normal manga panel flow, like what she says at the end is that, like, basically because it's able to use this T rule, and make it, you can read it way faster because you know instantly where to go, because reading a lot of manga, you intuitively pick up on these rules and you know how to read it, where comic you can't read even a Western comic book that fast because it doesn't have that same level of the paneling like direct signposts or a 4 because it like the flow isn't there either. So
yeah, because there isn't flow, because like you don't like flow through the page, and maybe it's because I've never read a language that reads up to down, right? I always read vertically. Even when you read manga, most manga you read vertically, right? And by that I mean like you start at the top of the page, and then when you get to the bottom of the page, you're on the next page, as opposed to
right. And that is even though I've because One Piece gets a lot of dumb critique about like, oh, the Oda's paneling is bad, but that's because people aren't like thinking about the up to down and realizing how it's supposed to be read. And in some of the like the pages that go across 2 pages, or the panel, stuff that goes across 2 pages. So, but it's like, you have to read. Yeah, up to down is a factor, but the left to right is not a thing in the same way in a 4 Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and like I think that's part of the problem, because like, you know, and it might just be a personal thing where I don't read up to down, so I was having to go top of the page, bottom of the page, top of the page, bottom of the page.
Yeah, if you read a bunch more 4 you'd probably get it more too. Because I haven't read a lot, honestly.
I've read like maybe 5, so not that many.
I've read about the
same.
Couple. I've read about the same,
And so I definitely, you know, and I'm just not a big fan of the 4 like, setup. In general, I think it's generally pretty.
I mean, my favorite 4 manga. I don't know how much it's Hidamari sketch, and I don't know how much I'd like that if it weren't for the anime, which adds a lot to it and makes it better, and also endears me to the characters way more. But it still like holds its own, and the anime does like remove a bunch of stuff. Like it goes on to the 3rd year, which the anime ends after year 2, and it removes a bunch of stuff from year 2. So the manga still has stuff that adds to it. Where Keion, it's like it's only the last 2 volumes, but also. I don't know. See, I don't know if I would have liked those 2 volumes if I'd read them, like, maybe if I watched the anime and then read the volumes, because, like, by the time I read volume 4, the Keion manga, I was just done already, and I just kind of wanted to be done with it, and I have 2 volumes left, so...
Maybe because I found it really interesting because I was just analyzing the entire time what the main difference is between the 2, because I didn't have a problem, because, again... I think I'm the only person of all 3 of us.
Because I thought about that. Because I even said before, is like I think the characters are different in some ways because like in the anime it gives them these arcs, and the manga they're still doing the same things, but they don't have that arc there. So it's and I didn't have the energy or desire to like think about like, okay, what's the difference between anime Yui and manga Yui? I don't care.
Put it this way, right?
Yui.
I think Yui's the one that's the most.
Well, I don't. That was a random example. It could have been anyone. I don't care.
Okay.
Like here's the thing I'm gonna say. If you're gonna read this manga, just keep in mind that like what's missing in the Keion manga is really just density. Because think about it this way. The Keion anime is like what, 30-something episodes, whereas this is only like 4 volumes. And like considering that like, you know,
let's put it this way, there's 57 chapters in the Keion manga and there are 39 episodes.
No, are you counting all the OVAs?
Not count. I didn't count the OVAs because
I'm just counting the seasons.
But the OVAs are
okay. Yeah. But
okay, then now there's like 40 episodes. Wow.
It's 41 what a difference. It's 41 episodes. So it's each volume of the manga, each 129 page of the manga is 10 episodes.
Yeah, but like it's like there's like when you read them, at least for me, even though it might be like wordy for you guys, because the situations are basically just like. Set up, punchline, set up, punchline, set up, punchline. For every single page, it was like, there's a lot in between there that the anime adds. There's like so much that's built in there. And that's like my point, right? Is that like, when you're reading this manga, it's a very interesting experience trying to figure out like, how they, like, what's different. And all it does is make you appreciate the anime more. And like
I don't disagree with that. I was just explaining why I think reading it was slower, which just is because 4 fucking is a shitty manga format.
I didn't have a problem with it. So like
okay, well Crafts and I both did, so I don't know why you're sitting here.
Because you see, Vindy, I am a higher evolved being.
Like she said, you didn't have a problem. I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure out why Crafts and I felt like it was a problem and trying to explain it. And you're like, well, I didn't have a problem, so
I'm just
look. I don't need you fucking acting like you're cooler than everyone else.
Well, that's just because what I'm saying. Because you guys are giving your perspective.
Vindy,
I'm giving mine.
That's obvious.
It's obvious. Yeah, it's obvious. See? Dumb bitches. Anyway, like...
4 is is the gotcha of the manga.
One thing I'll say though is that like there is no like like even reading that I kind of felt like we know how in the anime there's like a very defined ending, like an ending for everything. Like it's like if it's an open-ended one, but it's like done. When I read this fucking manga, I was like, yo, wait, hold up.
There's a sense of finality in the anime, yeah.
Yeah, there's no finality in this. I was like, oh, okay, they're just gone now. Well,
yeah, it got axed.
Yeah, so like that's really just the thing is that reading this, I don't want to say the manga's empty, but it's more like there's so much like density that's just not there. That like
the best way to read the manga is to have read it without having watched the anime, honestly. But then
you wouldn't like it that much. Yeah, is the problem.
Yeah, so just like I would just say like
I also think some of the great
none of us
moments
have read the manga without having watched the anime first, so I don't know how someone would feel having just read the manga without having watched the
bottom
anime.
line is Mio's hotter in the anime, so who cares?
But she's not even the best girl in Keion.
Yeah, it's Azusa.
The 5th best girl in Keion.
It's Azusa.
She's
Mio's second best.
4th best.
Okay, you fucking dumb bitch.
Alright, let's move on to spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yui,
Spoilers.
Ritsu, Mugi, Azusa, Mio. I'm not taking criticism. I know that's correct.
Okay. So Keion High School made me cry. Like fucking okay. Keion High School made me fucking cry. Like it fucked me up because one thing I've always desired from the anime. One thing I loved about the anime was the fact that like Azusa's entire arc, which was cut out from the manga, a lot of Azusa's arc where she's realized this like because the way the Keion anime structures itself is like it's like this slow crushing realization that they're leaving her and she'll be alone. She's the one who's gonna be left behind, right?
Well, that's her second arc.
Oh my fucking god.
No, I'm just being fucking honest. Like, it doesn't... like, her first
24
arc about, like,
episodes versus 13, Vindy.
Okay, but it's still there. Like,
okay, but basic point is, for a more majority of the series, Azusa's arc is that she's this crushing real... Like, she's always been the outsider in the group, and then all of a sudden, now that she's finally, like, found a place there, they're leaving. They're gonna be fucking gone. And that's, like, her, like, big... Like, she's already insecure about her being the outsider for a lot of the anime. And then like by the time they're about like she's finally feeling like she's like part of their group, they're leaving. And that's like a huge thing. And that's why like one of my favorite moments in the anime is like when they fucking when the Yui, Mio, Mugi and Ritsu go by the club room and they're going to go check on Azusa. But then they hear her, Ui and oh my god, I'm fucking June. I was gonna call her Jun for a second because I'm losing my mind. Yeah, June. They were playing and then they just smile and then they run away because they realize that everything's gonna be fine. They kind of avoid that entirely with the manga because then it just cuts into Azusa trying to build the club from the ground up in Keion High School, and I thought that was really cool. Like the entire arc of her like reforming the new. You know, the fucking Fresh Leaf, the new Fresh Leaf Girls or whatever the fuck their band name was, and like I think, and that's why like there's this line at the very end of Keion High School this was the line that fucked me up was when Sawa-chan was like watching them and she's watching them perform and because the entire time they're worried about we'll never be as good as Hokago Tea Time, right? They keep thinking about their final performance and how great it was and they're like worried about it and this group that Azusa was a part of that will never match up to that. And then Sawa-chan watches them perform and she's like, and I watched that performance and it was every bit as good as Hokago Tea Time. And then she just watches the group like interacting with each other. She's like, I wonder how the light music club will entertain me next time. That fucking fucked me up. I was like, yeah, basically, right? There's also
well, I think there was some. Sorry, I was gonna say I think that like her arc I liked a little bit more for some other reasons as well, which is like, and it's why I wanted to bring up, and I was insisting that like her first arc is learning to have fun in the club, because I think one of my favorite parts is like as she's trying to be this club leader, she realizes that like her ideals of what the club should always have been about like just being super hard on everyone. Like she does have to tone that back a little bit, and she has to be a little bit more like she has to have fun with them, right? And so there are moments in Keion High School where she's like, okay, you know what? Let's just eat cake. Let's just have a good time eating cake. And there's like the moment where like she realizes that she's been kind of being a dick to the younger club members. It's like, all right, like, you know, let's slow it down. Let's treat it better. You know, a lot of y'all are just picking up your instruments. And I think that was like a really, really good moment because it was like almost a combination of what her arc there was with like what we saw. And it's why like then after that she goes around being Yui and like giving everyone these big hugs and shit, right? Because she learned like what worked for her and realized that like you can't just be super serious all the time. You need to have like the fun.
Well, there's
part
also
of the club.
there's also the fact that like they realized that like what made Hokago Tea Time like shine when they were like performing, whereas when you see them practicing, they're just fucking around, was the fact that they were having fun and they were living their best life during.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that like I love that like they combined her original arc with arc in like this like epilogue volume.
Yeah,
it was like really, really good and like actually meant a lot. Another thing that was in both Keion High School and the other that I fucking loved is the fact that like the only crossover characters the only time you see crossover characters outside of mention between Keion High School and Keion College is when Yui goes home in college and sees Ui, and that is the only time. Because the entire time I was reading Keion High School, I expected to see the members of Hokago Tea Time show up after the new light music club performed, and the fact that they didn't, I actually thought was like a really good choice. Like I like that they didn't show up and say something about the performance. I thought it helped like further this idea that like this is a different band, this is like a different group. You know, sure there's a lot about the old group that matters, but we don't need to see those characters for it to stand on its own.
Yeah, we don't need
really
the
good.
Hokago Tea Time for the Fresh Leaf Girls. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I was expecting to do something where when Yui came home, she saw Azusa, and I thought the fact that Yui coming back, or any of them coming back for the summer, we didn't see some interaction there, I thought was, like, a really good choice, actually. I really liked that.
You know what's not a good... You know what was a good choice on the anime's part that I was fucking, like, really, like, sad that they didn't do? Was that... So two of my favorite moments in all of Keion is... The first one is after their school festival, right? There's their last one. They're all sitting in the room, right? And they kind of do this.
And they cry.
Yeah, well, because they're talking, right? They're talking about as if, like, you know, yeah, you know, that was so fun. And they start saying, yeah, next time we should do this. And then that's when they start crying because they realize it's never going to happen again.
That's the part that's, like, so good that the actual graduation doesn't even hurt because it's like, well, I've already felt all the pain. Like,
oh, but then it
the
fucks you up.
graduation still hurts because of fucking Tenshini Furuyama.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My second, like, the other moment is that the fact that they open it up again because Azusa's, like, trying her best not to fucking cry about it. And then, like, they fucking play Tenshini Foretayo, which ties into the movie, and she's fucking bawling. She's realizing that, like, oh, you know, they're, you know, it's okay if they leave or shit. God, but they don't have it in the manga. They just, it's just fucking.
I mean, they play it. We just don't see them writing it. And obviously, you don't hear the song, right? Like it's obviously again less fleshed out, but it is there. It's just not as good. Because they do say, hey, we wrote a song for you, and they play it. We don't hear what the song's called, unlike even with like You and I, which is still there, and you see the words to You and I there, you know, you don't see the name or the words to the song that they wrote for Azusa, but they do play a song for Azusa. Like that idea is continued, or is from the manga, I guess.
Yeah. Which
again is like, I think a lot of the thing is that like, I think the ideas were, like, I think that, like, Yamada just kind of took what was there.
And then, like, maximized on it.
Took the good and stripped out the bad, right? And then took the good and made it more. Like, again, I think that, like, yeah, the characters are better in the anime. I think that the core of the characters you can still see in the manga, right? Like, a lot of the base ideas, even some of, like, the more nuanced stuff with some of these characters is there in the manga. It's just the manga's not as good. The manga's a four-coma. The manga doesn't really try to focus itself with telling these character arcs. And that's why I wish that we could have seen an anime adaptation of when the manga actually did start telling character arc in college with what does music mean to Yui. And I would have loved to see that arc be animated.
Yeah, because you can talk about Keion College because I have like because I know like in this situation I like Keion High School way more because I like Azusa the best. And, like, a lot of what I have to say about what was good has to do with Azusa, but I know that you liked Keion College the best out of all these ones.
Yes, and Yui's my favorite character. So, like, the thing that I loved about, like, is the idea... this is actually something I do think the manga, in terms of this, actually did handle better. Because I don't think that... Obviously, part of this is because it doesn't really matter as much until until Keion College, and then by like that came out after the anime. But I do think the manga makes it very clear that like Yui is kind of like weirdly super talented at music, right? Like when it comes to hearing pitch and learning to play the instrument and stuff like that, she's actually kind of insanely talented, right? And she can tell the difference in things when she doesn't know the technical terms, you know? And I think that ties in really hard to her Keion College arc, because like her arc in Keion College is about like, you know, she's in school to be a teacher, but then she gets this new friend who's super hot. It's also an education major, and they both play guitar, and it's like through talking to this girl and playing with this girl, she realized like this girl's serious about music, and like, am I serious about music? Why am I playing music? Is it just to be with my friends, or is there something more there? And she slowly starts to learn that like there is something more there, which is why she starts asking the guitar girl to like, hey, teach me the names of these things, teach me like more about playing, right? And you even get a glimpse of that at the start, because the first thing we see in Keion College is her dreaming of her playing at a concert and making her professional music debut, right? And that's like the manga's way of telling you that like Yui does care more about music than, you know, just doing it to be with her friends, and what she kind of learned and kind of met through basically a chance encounter became like her passion, you know. And like you kind of get that in the anime, but I think that the anime doesn't go into as hard into this idea of Yui being like this god talent at just music who can like there's a moment where she's like, oh, this is off by a half of a tone, and it was off by an eighth of a tone, and or an eighth of a note, and like I don't remember that in the anime, and it could have been there. It was just obviously the anime's focusing on other things, right? So whereas with other aspects of all the characters, there's multiple scenes of it. When there's like only one scene of all of those things in the manga, something that is less accentuated in the anime is going to stick out more, right?
Yeah.
Because it's in a way, even though it's maybe showing up as the same as other things, in the manga it's more emphasized because I'm seeing it percentage-wise the same as I'm seeing everything else. And so I think you would have had to do, I guess not backpedal, but, you know, if you had done an anime adaptation of College, you would have had to put more time into like showing like, yeah, hey, Yui is kind of like this weirdly gifted musician who's like super dumb, but also like
Idiot
kind
savant.
of really talented at guitar. Yeah. And I think that like that's something that I really liked that arc of hers, and I wish that it would have kept going, because I feel like the college manga didn't really end it, right? It just kind of like said like, hey, this is what's going on, this is there, but it didn't go far enough with it. Like I wanted to see like an end to that idea, because like that, I would say that the entirety of reading the Keion manga, that idea was the most compelling thing I saw at all. And it was something that I would have liked to continue seeing. It just wasn't there because it ended after a volume. And that's why I wish I had an anime adaptation of that, because I know Yamada would have gone all the way with it and ended it somewhere conclusively. With, you know, maybe even this idea of Yui deciding to pursue music as like an actual thing, you know? Yeah. So that's my rant about Keion College, I guess, and why I really enjoyed it and thought it was really, really good.
Like, I think ultimately just like all I'm really gathering from this is just like reading this was interesting more so because it builds your appreciation for like what's going, like what the difference and how, like, I don't know.
It makes me even realize more how fucking it. You know what it does that I was finally starting to get away from that makes me want to start doing again?
What?
It's constantly shitting on panel for panel adaptations.
Unlucky, I think.
Because, like, it just showed me that, like, yeah, you can actually adapt things and make them fucking amazing. Like, you can make it, and obviously there's a big difference between something that's only a 4-volume 4 manga getting 40 episodes, and something like MHA, which is a very well-done, detailed manga with everything fleshed out.
Because there's a similar experience was, like, I guess from, like, comparing the Love Lab, right? Because Craftsdwarf went and looked at, like, even, like, the art. But, like, when you watch Love Lab, you don't necessarily feel the same kind of, like, 4 structure as hard, right? When you're watching Love Lab. Right.
I wouldn't feel it as hard as, like, if I was watching, like, Surazura Children, but I would say you feel it harder and Love Lab than you do in Keion.
Yeah, but like Love Lab is the closest thing to what I like.
Yeah, I would agree.
And like I think that's the biggest thing is that like it's easier with the 4 manga adaptation because then you can stand to add things more.
Yeah, there's so much more you can add.
Whereas I feel like that's the problem with most mangas that like if you start adding things, you'll piss people off or something.
The problem with most manga is honestly, and people don't like hearing this because you make a video about why ACTDOJ doesn't need an anime and people fucking get so offended by it. But guess what? Most manga don't need to be adapted. Y'all just need to learn how to read.
Well, there's also because like I would say that like something like Koi no Katachi's adaptation is like a very different experience from reading the manga, and like
yes, and I would say both are equally good.
This is really just KyoAni's fucking goated.
Well, I think that like the thing with Koi no Katachi is I think both are equally good, and while they have some of the same ideas and themes, I think that they tell different stories, right? Like I would say that you have to both watch Koi no Katachi
and read it,
and read the manga. And I would probably say that from my experience with meeting people who have done both, you should watch it first because otherwise you're going to be some bitch manga snob who's like, oh, they cut out everything about the movie arc. Everyone I know who's read it first is like, they cut out the movie arc and that was my favorite part. So the movie sucks because they didn't make every single character important. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's an hour and a half long movie.
No, that was my thing. It was like, when I was talking about it, I was like, they cut out the movie arc, which fleshes out the other characters, but then this is also a fucking movie, so they had no choice, and Yamako Yamada instead chose to focus more so on the romance aspect of it. So, like, that was just...
Well, okay. I mean, kind of.
Well, more so than I guess...
I mean, one of them ends with them getting married, and one of them doesn't. So, like, I don't know if I can really say that...
The movie arc is also about friendship, so, like...
No, you're right. Like, again, like, I think they're different stories, but I think that both are important, and I think that, like, with that one, the difference is, I would actually probably say, maybe it is the same with both then, and maybe you should read Keion first, because I think if you read the one that has, or if you experience the one with more content that's, like, more good content, first, all your thoughts would be, well, where's all this goated shit that I love? When you experience the other one. So, maybe Craftsdwarf is right. Maybe you should read the Keion manga first.
Who knows? He's been quiet this entire time.
Maybe I talked no jutsu myself into,
yeah, like, really?
Mostly because, like, by the time I got to high school and college, I just didn't give a shit. Because, like, it's not my characters, and
hashtag not my
Keion
president.
Like, college was at least different enough, but high school I just felt like they were trying too hard to, like, oh look, it's Hokage 2 time, but Electric Boogaloo, and I was just like, and also I was also like my second least favorite, so and who cares about June, and who cares about Mugi 2, and
oh man, now
yeah,
I'm balding now. Oh no.
I mean, like, okay, I guess here's because now we're so we're we've still been talking about this. Just this is also to keep what from malding too hard. To talk about another manga anime like adaptation that I love that I think isn't a 4 manga, but it does something with it is Barakamon, right? It's like my favorite anime, and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite manga, and I think that like a big difference is the Barakamon anime mainly focuses on Honda's relationship with the kids, right? There is a little bit of like the village aspect. But it actually cuts out a lot of the manga chapters about Honda being a part of this village. Because after the there's a lot that goes into the full story about, instead of Honda just growing a relationship with these kids and that changing his art, it's much more about Honda becoming a member of the village, right? And like really trying to help the other people that he lives around in the community that aren't just children. Whereas the anime just mainly focuses on like his relationship with Naru and Hina and Hiro and Miwa and Tama. And so like I think that like that's an example where the anime made changes and chose to cut things and chose to accentuate things to kind of, even though it's largely the same point, to kind of tell a different story, a story with a different flavor than what the original is.
What I want to talk with you, what we should probably read eventually down the line, that I need you guys to read eventually so I can confirm my thoughts about this, is the Love Live manga. Because the Love Live manga actually came first. But, like, the anime decided to create its own continuity. And, like, I've seen some fucking dumb fucks in my comments be like, oh, they changed this from the manga and it's worse, and it's like, no. No.
Right, it's
no.
like both are independently created with the same like baseline ideas.
That and also the manga fucking sucks. So it's like,
So, oh my god, so it's Dragon Ball Super.
no,
I
listen.
mean, am I wrong? Is that wrong?
Listen, here's my thing with Love Live's manga. Look, this is the biggest thing about Love Live manga to the anime. You know how Nico's entire thing is that she's a little piece of
girls are
shit,
hotter in the Love Live
but she
manga.
has like but like it's just her persona that she puts on is only her idol persona, but she's actually a little gremlin piece of shit, right? The manga just makes her fake personality her actual personality.
Right, but the girls are hotter in the manga. So
They're
I think
really
it's
not.
probably better.
They're
They
no, they're
fucking
not.
are.
Don't
They're
even lie to
so
me.
hot. Every time
Don't
I see
even
manga-
lie to me.
Look, well, I'm either seeing manga images or I'm seeing porn, and I can't tell which is which.
The
but
porn-
Either
well-
way, what I've seen of the manga is hotter.
It's really not. For some reason, Honeka's part of the Kendo
I love
Club.
Vindy's like slow realization where it's like, you know what? That might not have been the manga.
It might have just been the first few pages of dojis before they got naked.
Like some dumb fuck in one of my videos was trying to say that Nico was the worst adapted character aside from Maki, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, as an adaptation, yeah, it doesn't capture what the manga does,
Adaptation,
but also
Craftsdwarf.
that's-
I've held my tongue 20 times. It's
I don't care.
adaptation is
I
the
just
word.
do not fucking care. I'm
Oh my
sorry.
God.
I was talking about fucking Love Live.
What?
I said I was like someone in my dumb fuck in my comments was saying the worst way they adapted Nico and
Adaptated.
What?
No, that's adapted, but it's an adaptation. Craftsdwarf, you're trying to fuck with me.
You're so
I'm not-
stupid.
I'm
This
too
old
ready
man's
for it.
fucking losing his
I'm
mind
on
now.
top
We
of
gotta end now. We're gonna go to final thoughts because there's nothing else to say. You know, final thoughts.
But this is turning into an interesting discussion about fucking
Craftsdwarf's
adaptations.
dementia? Yeah, it is.
Okay, well.
Look, tell me that wasn't funny. All
No,
right,
it
anyway,
was
final-
funny, but yeah.
Eventually, I was just tuning you out and being like, okay, whatever. Dumbass old man, I don't care anymore.
It's funnier because it was wrong, I think.
That's why I said it. Anyway,
Explaining the joke now, old man? Okay.
Anyway, so I gave the Keion manga a 5 because it gave the anime a lot of great stuff to work with. I gave college a 5 because it was different enough that I thought it was kind of neat, and I gave high school a 4 because I was
That's
bored
what I
and
love
wanted
to
to die.
hear. Chad's dwarf.
And
Unlucky, I think.
yeah, overall, like maybe read it first because then you won't have an anime like like you said, Flowers of Anjunan. Like you won't have eaten like greatness, so like you could just enjoy it for what it is, where it's like just a cute dumbass idiot girls being kind of mean and jackasses, and there's lewd and some humor, and then you could watch the anime and be like, they made that out of this, and like
I
don't
feel
know.
like as a rat, the Weeb Club Flowers for Algernon'd me because I didn't realize how good I had it before I had to sit here and talk to y'all every week.
fair.
Fair.
I'm done.
I still don't know. Okay, I think I'll give the first, like the Keion manga a 5 because I think it's fine. It was a read. There were some things I saw I liked. There wasn't really, it's a 6. There wasn't really anything I would say I actually disliked in it, but there wasn't anything I loved. But there were things I saw that I was like, yeah, I actually think that like I mentioned with the idea of Yue being talented, I actually had things that I felt like I gained by reading it. I would say, and there were some jokes that still made me laugh rereading through. Like there were some jokes that I thought were still the punchlines hit. Then I would say I gave High School a 7. No, High School is also a 6. I liked it, and I think that it did a lot good,
Oh, this
but
is
it didn't do
unfortunate.
anything great. And then I would give College a 7 because there were things I actually really liked that it did.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, I have the highest score out of all
What
three
gave
of
them
us.
all 10?
No,
well,
okay,
none of it
so
made me cry. None
put-
of it made me cry.
Put it this
so.
way, right? From least to best, it goes the Keion original for me, then Keion College, then Keion High School. And so then you got to consider that each of my scores are one above each other. And I gave the Keion
it's
manga a
6,
7.
8. Oh! You gave
What the
Keion
fuck?
High School a 9?
Because it made me cry. And it was
I-
legitimately fun.
So did
Nine?
so Anohan is a 9.
No, fuck you. I was legitimately having a good ass time reading Keion High School as my thing. I was like having some fun when I got to that point. So that's really my reasoning.
Did I miss pages?
Well, you know,
I'm just fucking with you.
unlucky, I think.
I think it's funny that I like the Keion I like the Keion anime a little bit slightly less than you guys, but I also like the Keion manga way less than you guys.
Well,
so
you're an idiot.
that's funny. Sad.
Okay.
it's not my fault. It's your fault entirely.
Wow.
I mean, you have the 4th best girl as your best girl, so you know.
You're so funny. You're so funny, Craftsdwarf. She's the
Wait,
lolly,
Crafts,
so
who's
she's
your
the hottest
favorite? Is it Mugi?
Ritsu,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Ritsu, Yui, Mio, then Azusa, then Mugi.
You can't have Mugi as the last. She has pickle eyebrows.
one. Okay. I'm not about to have this dumbass debate because it doesn't really matter.
She has pickle eyebrows. If you get hungry, you eat them.
You're fucking weird. You're a fucking DJ.
That's literally a joke from the show.
Yeah, but you're
That's
fucking
literally
weird.
A
You're a
joke
fucking
in an
DJ,
episode.
though. I know that's
Why?
how you
I
actually
remembered
feel,
a funny
though,
joke
Craftsdwarf.
that made me laugh.
You're actually just a fucking
Craftsdwarf?
DJ, though.
Now you're losing your mind. You know what? Fuck you. I'm in
You're actually just a
episode.
DJ. So like, I don't.
Why? Because I want to joke that Mugi has pickle eyebrows?
No, because I know you would actually eat it. So like, you know.
No, I wouldn't.
Here,
You
I'm
can't eat hair. It makes you gag.
Oh, cool. Well, you know what? I want to put it past you. I want to fucking put
Have
it
you had
past...
pickled daikon before?
Huh?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's
I don't.
Okay.
I actually don't like pickles. I don't
well.
like vinegar. So.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, I'm making something right now. Hold on.
Shut up. We're ending the episode.
We're ending the episode, but I'm making something right now. Hold on.
Does it matter to the episode?
Oh well.
Do I need to keep fucking stalling while you make this? How long is it gonna take you to make
I don't
this?
know. I don't know.
I can
honestly.
stall.
You're stall?
Is this the new thing now? Ever since Banana Eat, now we have to make a fucking new thing in every backlog. But if you're stupid dumb, what and you wait till after final thoughts, now I have to sit here and pretend to fucking stall for time and act like I'm actually saying something. When in reality, I'm not saying anything because I want to see what dumb
Okay, I'm
fuck
done.
creation you made. So it's fucking bad, and I can
Okay,
say
I'm done.
I hate you and re-end the episode. So I gotta wait for you to fucking post it in Discord so I can fucking see
Well,
it
no,
after
I
you
don't need to
export
post it
it.
in Discord, but like, you know.
You have to post it in Discord. If you're gonna make it, I need to see it. Did you post it to Twitter? Oh, okay. It was a Twitter list. Haha, it's so funny. It's so funny. Here, look, guys. I'll post a screenshot. WattheWut added you to a list. DJs. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha.
You're so funny, man.
I'm ending the episode.
Okay, bye.